Good morning. My name is Romeo L. De La Torre Jr., an English major, and this is for Senior High School Group 1A for the subject Oral Communication. Good morning, everyone. So, how's your day? Well, that's good to hear. Now, but before we get into our business, I would like to request everyone to please stand for our prayer. Please bow your heads and feel the presence of the Lord. Dear God, creator of heaven and universe, you are worthy of our praises. In you alone we pray and submit ourselves, for we are nothing without you. Alright, so please be seated now. So, class, before we move on, I would just like to check first your attendance. So please say aye once your name is called, okay? Kent Harvey, Albert Fred, Stelly Ivy, Judlyn Joy, Von Christian, Elvin. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We have perfect attendance today, so I hope that we will be able to have a dynamic discussion for this morning. Okay, so who among you class who could still remember our previous lesson? Anyone? Yes, you are correct. Our previous lesson was all about verbal communications and its cues. Now, there are 6 components that we should remember. So firstly, we have the pause. Second, we have, very good, the loudness and softness. Third, yes, correct, that is rhythm. The fourth one, we have the tone. Yes, that is correct. The fifth one, yes, that is correct. That is the repetition or rephrasing. Then the last component would be appropriate use of language. Okay, so thank you so much for you class that you still remember our previous discussion. Now, let's move on to our main topic for today. So, for this morning, we will be discussing the functions of communication. But before we move on to the main discussion, let's indulge a bit. Okay. So, as you can see here in the presentation, 4 or 5 groups. Within your group, choose a song of your choice. Replace the lyrics of the song to express your feelings towards someone or something. Now, it doesn't matter how many members in each group, so long as you would be able to change the lyrics of the song of your choice. Okay? So I will be giving you 5 minutes or 10 minutes to do this activity. Alright, so do this activity now. Okay, your time is up. So let's have now a team play. So each group will present to the class the new lyrics of the song, and the rest of the class will guess the message of the new lyrics. Okay, so let's start with the group 1. Okay, perfect presentation, group 1. Now group 5. Okay, that is a wonderful presentation. Group 3. Okay, thank you so much. How about group 4? Okay, thank you. How about group 2? Okay, thank you so much. Now, thank you so much, class, for your cooperation with this activity. But before anything else, let's answer some questions. Now, how do you find the activity? Did you enjoy while doing the activity? Were there any hindrances while doing the activity? Okay. Yes? That's totally understandable. Now, second question. Do you find singing as one of the options to express your emotion? Okay. Okay, I like your answer. Thank you so much. Now, what do you think will happen if we all understand the real purpose of the speaker? Perfect. We would be able to avoid misunderstanding Mm-hmm. Okay, and we would be able to exchange ideas with ease. Okay, thank you so much. The fourth one, do you think communication is important? Exactly. Communication is important for us to, firstly, for us to survive in this world. Very good. Any more idea? Yes, exactly. With the use of communication, we would be able to communicate with one another. We will not be able, or we will not feel alone in this world. Thank you so much. Now, what do you think are the functions of communication? Okay, so for social interaction, very good, thank you so much. Okay, for giving information. Alright, thank you so much everyone. Now, we have here the key takeaways for our activity today. So, communication as a human activity always serves a function. Then, functions of communication refer to how humans use language for different purposes. So, communication exists for us or for us to be able to use this in many needs. Okay? Now, theoreticians such as Rowan Jacobson, Michael Halliday, and Brenislaw Malinowski have categorized the different uses of functions of communication. Okay, now let's get into our business. The functions of communication. The first function of communication, we have the regulation or control. When we say regulation or control, it can be used to control the behavior of human beings. It can be used to regulate the nature and amount of activities humans engage in. So in this type of function of communication, we use communication to control the amount of activity that we do into day-to-day basis. For example, in the classroom setup, I use communication to instruct you, like, you do this, class, you clean our classroom. Class, you go home by 5:30. So that alone is an example of how I regulate or how I control you, class, with the use of communication. Okay? Now, the second function of communication is social interaction. Actually, you have guessed this one right earlier. When we say social interaction, communication can be used to produce social interaction. In their daily course of living, human beings develop and maintain bonds, intimacy, relations, and association. I know for sure that we are all aware of the quotation, "No man is an island." So technically, when we say social interaction, we exist for one another. We do not exist alone. Okay? And for us humans to survive, we need to interact with one another. We use communication to interact with one another. We use communication to exchange thoughts. We use communication to argue on something for us to develop or create something. Okay? So again, when we say social interaction, it maintains or develop bonds, intimacy, relations, and association. So what is the first function of communication again? Regulation or control. The second one we have the social interaction. Now the third function of communication we have is motivation. Thank you so much for reading that one to me. So when we say motivation, a function of communication refers to a person using a language to express desires, needs, wants, likes and dislikes, inclinations, choices, and aspirations. So from the definition itself, we use communication for us to express what we want. For us to share, as what I have told you earlier, for us to share our thoughts on something. We motivate with one another, we motivate each other with the use of communication. Example for this one is in your home. Your parents actually ask you or motivate you to do good in school, to perform well in school, or to do your homework. That is a form of motivation. Or in the stage, in your stage right now, let's say you already have your crush or your boyfriends or girlfriends, you will motivate one another. You use communication to motivate each one of you. Okay? So again, when we say motivation, it expresses desire, need, wants, likes and dislikes, inclinations, choices, and aspirations. So how many functions of communication we already have discussed? 3 functions already. Okay, now let's move on to the 4th function of communication, which is information, and you have guessed this one right again earlier. So, when we say information, it is about communication that can be used for giving and getting information. So we use communication for getting or for sharing information. What I'm doing right now is I am giving you an information as to what are the functions of communication. And your responses, you are also sharing to me your ideas or your thoughts about the functions of communication. So that is an example of information. Or let's say when you tune into news, when the news anchors or the reporters update us as to what is happening now in our society. So that alone is an example of communication, and that is a function for information. Okay, so are we clear with that? Okay, thank you so much. Now, the 5th function of communication is for emotional expression. So when we say emotional expression, communication facilitates people's expression of their feelings and emotion. So we use communication to express our emotion on how we feel on something or how we feel for someone. So we use communication to tell them how we like them, to tell them how we don't like them. Okay, so that is emotional expression. We tell somebody with the use of communication that we are mad at them. We express it with the use of communication when we are happy. So that is emotional expression. So any questions with regard to emotional expression? None? Okay, so let's have now the recap of the 5 functions of communication. So firstly, we have the regulation or control. Very good. So again, when we say regulation or control, it regulates the amount of behavior human beings do. Second function of communication is social interaction. So all we need to remember when we say social interaction is that with the use of that communication, we maintain bonds and develop intimacy relations and associations. Very good. Now the 3rd function of communication again is motivation. It expresses or we use communication to express our desires, needs, wants, likes and dislikes, inclinations, choices, and aspirations. Very good. Now the 4th function of communication is information. So when we say function for information, communication can be used for getting and giving information. So giving information usually comes from the form of statements of facts. So grammatically known as declaratives. Now the 5th function of communication is emotional expression. So communication facilitates people's expressions of their feelings and emotion. Now this time, I want you to get a 1/2 sheet crosswise of paper. 1/2 crosswise sheet of paper. Okay, you already have it? Very good. Now try doing this one just for us to make it sure that you understand our lesson for today. So, in a 1/2 sheet crosswise of paper, write an example scenario of each functions of communication. As much as possible, please write your own scenario, whether it is in real life or you just created it, so long as it shows the function of communication that will do. Avoid using the functions of communication or the examples that I have provided you earlier. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes for this activity. Okay, so let's do it now. Alright, so at the back of your paper, on the one of shaped crosswise, I also wanted you to do this activity. So read each item carefully, identify what function of communication was discussed. Alright, so I'll give you 10 minutes to do this activity. So this is items 1 to 10. Just tell me when you are done with items 1 to 4. Okay, so here are items 5 to 10. Okay, now let's try to answer each items now. It is a function of communication that expresses likes and dislikes. So what do you think is that function of communication? It is a function of communication about motivation. Okay, very good for those who answered correctly. For number 2, it regulates the amount of human activity. So from the word itself, regulates, we can already determine that this is regulation or control. Very good. Now number 3, it helps maintain bonds within society. Maintain bonds within society. Therefore, this is for social interaction. Now, grammatically known as declaratives. Yes, exactly. This is about, or this is a function of communication for information. Number 5, it is used for giving and getting information. So it's very clear, it's about information. It facilitates people's expression of feelings or emotional expression. It refers as using the language to express inclinations and aspirations. It is motivation. It helps to develop intimacy, relations, and association. Social interaction. It used for controlling the human behavior. Regulation and control. It is a function of communication where human expresses its emotion. It's very clear, it's emotional expression. Now, are there any questions, clarifications with regard to our discussion? Is everything clear? Alright, thank you so much. Now write this one as your assignment. Search and read for the types of speech content. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your day with me today and enjoy the rest of your day. So, goodbye class, and again, enjoy your day.